When office hours become after hours. Chapter 1. The perfect marriage that wasn't. From the outside, our life looked picture perfect. Daniel and I had been married for 10 years, and we had built a life many envied. He was a senior marketing manager in a top firm downtown, and I was a freelance graphic designer working from home. We had a comfortable house in the suburbs, no children yet by choice, and a rhythm that felt safe, predictable even. But comfort has a sneaky way of turning into complacency. I remember the first time I heard her name. Lily. Daniel mentioned her over dinner, calling her the new intern with fresh ideas. His eyes sparkled when he talked about how she challenged the old ways of thinking, how sharp and creative she was. I smiled, proud of his mentorship. I wanted to believe it was innocent, but weeks turned into months, and her name kept slipping into our conversations. Daniel started working late. Deadlines, he'd say. Client meetings ran over. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Yet, the gut feeling that something was changing between us was impossible to ignore. Chapter 2. Subtle changes. First, it was small things. His phone was no longer left casually on the kitchen counter. He carried it with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. He started spending more time on his appearance, buying new shirts, getting fresh haircuts, and dabbing on a cologne I didn't recognize. When I teased him about it, he laughed it off. It's important to stay sharp in the office, babe. But the distance between us was growing. Our conversations became transactional, what we needed from the grocery store, upcoming bills, family gatherings. The intimacy, the jokes, the late-night talks in bed, they all faded, replaced by silence or worse, forced small talk. One evening, as I was clearing the dinner table, I noticed his phone light up. A message preview appeared on the lock screen. Lily, you were amazing today as always. I told myself it was about a presentation or meeting, but that sinking feeling in my gut said otherwise. I didn't say anything that night, or the next, but the whispers in my mind became louder, turning into sleepless nights filled with questions I was too afraid to voice. Chapter 3. Truth Unveiled. It wasn't until my friend, Jenna, who worked in the same building as Daniel, mentioned seeing him at a nearby cafe with a young woman that my suspicions found ground. They looked close, Jenna said carefully, watching my reaction. I thought you should know. The world tilted for a moment, but still I wanted proof before accusing him. I wasn't going to be that wife who jumped to conclusions. So, I did what I never imagined I'd do. I hired a private investigator. The report came within a week. Pictures of Daniel and Lily having lunch, walking too close, sitting in a corner booth sharing laughs. No explicit evidence of physical intimacy, but their body language screamed of an emotional affair. I confronted Daniel that night. I saw the photos, Daniel. You and Lily. His face drained of color. Emma, I can explain. Explain what? That you're emotionally cheating on me? He sighed, sitting down heavily on the couch. It's not what you think. It's complicated. I waited. She's young, ambitious. She reminds me of the passion I had when I started. And somewhere along the way, Emma, I lost that fire. With her, I feel seen again. It hasn't gone beyond feelings. I swear. His words were a punch to the gut. It hadn't turned physical yet, but the emotional betrayal was already a wound that bled. Chapter 4. Emma's Struggle. The days that followed were a blur of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion, and, worst of all, self-doubt. Was I no longer enough? Had I become invisible to the man I built a life with? I found myself scrolling through old photos of us. Trips to the coast, lazy Sunday mornings, the way he used to look at me. When had that look been replaced with indifference? I wanted to scream, to throw things, to make him feel the ache I carried. But instead, I internalized it, drowning in silent pain. One evening, I found myself parked outside Daniel's office. It was unplanned, almost as if my car had driven itself there. As employees trickled out, I waited. And then I saw her. Lily. She was beautiful. Long auburn hair, a figure that turned heads, and a confident stride. She was everything I wasn't at 23. And standing next to her, Daniel looked alive. I hated her. But more than that, I hated what she represented. A mirror reflecting my insecurities. Chapter 5: The Confrontation. I decided to confront her. I messaged her through LinkedIn, posing it as a casual coffee meeting about a potential design collaboration. She agreed, probably thinking it was harmless. We met at a quaint cafe downtown. She greeted me with a bright smile, clearly unaware of who I really was. "Lily, I'm Emma, Daniel's wife." The color drained from her face. I didn't realize. Daniel never mentioned. I raised my hand to stop her. "I'm not here to create a scene. I just want to understand." She fidgeted with her cup, avoiding my gaze. "I never intended to hurt anyone. I admire Daniel. He's been a mentor and I guess I let my feelings blur the lines." "Do you love him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated. I'm infatuated with the version of him I see at work. But I don't know him the way you do. I know this is wrong, Emma. I never wanted to be that woman." Her honesty was disarming. For a moment, I saw her not as the enemy, but as a young woman caught up in a messy situation, as lost as I was. Chapter 6: Daniel's Realization. The tension between Daniel and me became palpable. We went through the motions, sharing a house but not a home. I could see the conflict within him, torn between the thrill of new affection and the weight of our shared history. A week later, Daniel's firm hosted a major client event, a cocktail evening where partners were invited. I decided to attend, a silent statement that I was still part of his life, whether or not he remembered. The evening was lavish. Music, laughter, clinking glasses. I noticed Lily across the room, surrounded by colleagues. Our eyes met briefly, and she gave a small, apologetic nod. As the night wore on and drinks flowed, boundaries blurred. During a speech, Lily, emboldened by liquid courage, interrupted with a playful comment directed at Daniel, laced with a familiarity that turned heads. Whispers spread like wildfire. Daniel's face was a mask of embarrassment and regret. He realized, in that moment, the consequences of his emotional affair. On our drive home, the silence was suffocating. "I messed up, Emma," he said, voice cracking. "I got caught up in feeling young again, admired again. But tonight, seeing you stand there with such grace, seeing how I've humiliated you, it broke something in me." I didn't reply. There was nothing left to say. Chapter 7: The Road to Repair. The following weeks were a blur of awkward conversations and emotional minefields. Daniel distanced himself from Lily, requesting a project transfer. Lily, to her credit, accepted with maturity, understanding the damage done. But our marriage wasn't magically healed. Daniel attended therapy, both individually and with me. Trust, once cracked, doesn't mend easily. There were nights when I wanted to walk away. But there were also nights when we found fragments of our old selves. Cooking together, watching late-night reruns, talking, really talking. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Daniel took my hand. "I can't erase what I did, Emma, but I want to spend the rest of my life proving that you're the only woman I'll ever truly love." It wasn't a grand gesture. It wasn't flowers or a romantic getaway. But it was honest. And that's where we chose to start. Epilogue. The ongoing journey. Rebuilding isn't glamorous. It's slow, messy, and filled with setbacks. But with every small step, an open conversation, a shared laugh, a vulnerable apology, we inched closer. I don't believe in fairy tale endings, but I believe in choosing to stay and fight for love, even when it's bruised and battered. Because sometimes, love isn't about perfection. It's about perseverance.